The double knockout. That you rarely see that. You only see shit like that here in Talladega.
Hey everybody, welcome on back. It's the Rubbin is Racing podcast. It's brought to you by Coca-Cola. I'm so thrilled that Coke is on board. You know who else is thrilled, Spider?
Who's that?
Quiggs. Quiggs took off today because he normally does one Coke a year. So he rented himself a cabin somewhere out in the Adirondacks. Then he got an Adirondack chair, and he's sitting alongside a lake right now with an ice-cold Coke Heavy like you have. I have the Coke Zero, the sugar-free, in my hands now for obvious reasons. There's a Coke for every one of you out there, every one of you NASCAR fans and beyond. So just remember, you can drink whatever the heck you want, but let's face it, Coca-Cola is the greatest soft drink in the world, and they're now sponsoring the greatest NASCAR podcast, or at least top 5, maybe top 10. So, best Coke ever? I say yeah. It's the 25th anniversary of Coca-Cola Racing Family. The Coca-Cola Racing family of drivers is now joined by us, the Coca-Cola Racing family of podcasters. And they're all over the place. So we're going to be going to Nashville this weekend. We're going to be doing some stuff with the drivers. And the whole time we're going to have a couple of nice ice cold Cokes. Best Coke ever. Only way to find out is for you guys to take a taste. Thanks very much for jumping on board, Coke. Let's go. Alrighty, so it's Rubbin is Racing. We've had a week off. Nice week off, Spider, right?
Absolutely. I mean, happy Father's Day to you, Large. I know you're a father of 3 beautiful children. How was your Father's Day?
Father's Day was elite. I just put a bar in my backyard, one of those like backyard bar things. So I'm out there, got the TV up and whatnot, smoking some cigars with the kids, having a good time. Happy Juneteenth to you, belated.
Appreciate
but
it.
I don't know if you celebrate, but if you do, I hope you had a great one. How's Chicago treating you?
It's nice. It's nice. Large, I think you need to get that grill set up that I saw on your Twitter on wheels. Let's get that thing mobile, and then we can start towing it to whatever track we're at. But yeah, Nashville this weekend, I'm fired up.
Nashville this weekend, and again, NASCAR has put together a hell of a season. We're halfway through. Nashville this weekend, then we're going right into Chicago the following weekend. So it's going to be a big 2-week stint for us in particular, for NASCAR in general. So there's going to be a ton of stuff for everybody to watch and enjoy. I'm going to go right into a couple of headlines. I found these interesting. And again, we haven't been on air for 2 weeks, right? We had Father's Day off, so we really haven't spoke to you guys since before Sonoma. But last week, it had hit at some point that the Jaguars may be trying to run some games in Daytona. I love this. So there's a proposed 2-year renovation starting after the 2025 season for the Jacksonville Jaguars. By the way, I had mentioned it to my wife, St. Anne. I said the Jaguars are going to run in Daytona. And she was like, holy shit, like that's groundbreaking. She thought it was going to be Toyota, Chevy, Ford, and then Jaguar. So I had to, make sure everyone knows, yeah. So Jacksonville Jaguars, Daytona's only 90 miles away. We know that it has over 100,000 spectator seats. I think only 50,000 of them would be used if there was a football field in there because the straightaway is so goddamn long. But and then you'd also have the VIP suites, which is the only way that we go when we go to Daytona. What do you think of that? I mean, it's nowhere near being done, but what do you think about having some football games in Daytona?
I have a couple thoughts. First of all, I love the idea. I think it'd be awesome. I would definitely want to be a spectator or, see this come to fruition. That being said, I'm also skeptical that it ever will. This almost seems like a little bit of like trying to get leverage from the state or, people nearby the current stadium that's like, hey, if you don't give us what we want or help us with facilities or funding or space, whatever it may be, that they're posturing to go to Daytona. Now, I think it'd be unreal. I would love to see an NFL game take place at a super speedway, and Daytona is one of the most iconic. 90 miles, 90 minutes, whatever it is, an hour and a half from there. It is kind of far, which is a little bit, why I'm a little hesitant, but I would love to see it happen. Imagine watching NFL. Also, I mean, I know a lot of these arenas have retractable roofs or they're open air or whatever, but this is truly like fully outside, immersive, probably the coolest NFL experience, most unique that I've heard of. So I would love to do it, even if it's not for the 2 years.
I like how you threw out the patented Chris Farley, kids answer. It would be awesome. And then you went right into the political side of it, which I think you're right. There's a ton of hurdles and there's a ton of stuff behind the scenes that has to be considered. But I'm going to go as infantile as possible and say that out of every place I've ever seen NFL or college be played. Like, I went to go see a Notre Dame game in Yankee Stadium, and it was a shit show.
Yeah.
It wasn't good. And I see these, everyone's playing in London now and all these other little venues which they try to host college and pro football games. Out of everyone that I've ever seen, I think that Daytona would be I'd be most pumped to go to Daytona to see a football game.
That crossover of fans would be unbelievable too.
I agree.
The Jaguars fans are big time on like face painting and costumes and shit too. Mixed with the NASCAR crowd, that would be elite.
Yeah, that Florida would really get up for those games. The other thing is you got to look at like Tennessee versus Virginia Tech did a game at Bristol where they turned the track into a football surface and they played there. So that was a historic event. I'm team football at racetracks all day, or really any event, because like tracks like Daytona or really any track, a lot of times they host the race and then other smaller series or races throughout the year, but they're dormant a good portion of the time. So I think this would be a great, very cool thing to see.
Yeah, you get in there somewhere around mid-November or early November. I mean, the seats now that I'm trying to visualize, it would be pushed back, obviously because you can't play on the actual track. But once you get into that big infield, you basically have your run of the place, and you could easily fit 10 football fields, as we know, in the infield at Daytona.
From my understanding, they're going to do it like right on the start-finish line. So in between where pit road is and like the tri-oval, that strip of grass where the winners notoriously do the burnout. So it would be kind of almost like a Carrier Dome vibe in Syracuse, where you have that one giant grandstand crowd, but then on the other side where like the pit boxes would be, I don't really know what they would be able to do with that space. Nonetheless,
Coach Doug's, by the way, is huge into this. I mean, if we were to go to a game there, and I know we try to pick and choose who we go to races with, if we were to go to a Jacksonville game in Daytona and we didn't bring Coach Doug's, he'd go on a hunger strike. It'd be a long hunger strike, right? Because he's got some stuff for story.
We'd have to bring him and Frank.
Yeah, and probably Chaps. I think Chapsy's a big Jacksonville guy, too. We'll stay with the NFL. Washington Commanders owner Harris Blitzer Sports Entertainment purchases a minority stake in Joe Gibbs Racing. And then Joe gets a piece of the old Redskins. And this all has to be approved because I guess Harris Blitzer Sports owns a little piece of a bunch of teams, right? So it has to get approval from everything else. I know that you hold Joe Gibbs up with a certain degree of reverence. And I remember the first time you met him, he had grabbed he'd grabbed your flyer out of your hand and signed it when you're just going up for a picture. But
I love his energy. Here's my thing.
Go.
So as much as you said, and I hand up, I'm a big Joe Gibbs fan. I love the fact that he takes time for people like myself and just drunk fans, like giving him a hard time at the track, whatever. Mm-hmm. I'm also a fan of his son, our grandson Ty. And the thing is like, I've heard a lot of people in the NASCAR world saying that like, 2311 is the new flagship Toyota team, like Joe Gibbs, we've already seen kind of the beginning of the end for them. And I'm like, all these people are super critical of Joe Gibbs, especially when they were struggling to get a win early on this season. And I just love this move from like a businessman perspective. It's like, even if there's 1% truth of the critics that were the feedback that was aimed at Joe Gibbs Racing earlier this year, it's like, I don't know, if you're in the sports world and you're lucky enough to have ownership stake in any sport in a professional level, it just seems like the right move to kind of diversify your portfolio. And that's what it sounds like happened with Coach Gibbs here. It sounds like he's getting a piece of a football team in exchange for his race team. And I'm not even sure, I didn't read too much into it, but I'm not sure that any monetary transaction occurred, or if it were just two businesses agreeing for kind of a trade, if you will.
It makes sense. It just makes sense even not getting into the paper. And I didn't get into the terms either just because it seems like it's a way off with the approval process. But it would be nice to see his name attached to the football team again. I'm going to go on to Noah Gragson. I know that you're wearing the Nash. So for people who don't know, when we were in Nashville last year, they did something in our section where they were like pressing hats and making T-shirts and stuff like that. So it was NASCAR. That's one of the hats too, right? That you're rocking?
Yep.
So it's like a guitar pick and whatnot. Shout out again, NASCAR, for doing a great job with that. Noah Gragson. Missed Sonoma with a concussion. So we know that Noah was one of the few unfortunate guys that blew a brake rotor in St. Louis, right? He hit the wall pretty hard.
Very hard.
And I saw that he tweeted yesterday that he said something that he's coming to Nashville. And there's a big picture of him on the Twitter, so I'm assuming that Noah is back. So one of the things I wanted to ask you, because I had seen a clip of him right after the Sonoma race, right? The young lady who I'm not going to even mention her name again. But so she went over and she started to ask Noah about stuff. We're big Legacy fans here. We are, right? Like, I know what's happening with them, and, you know, I like Eric Jones. I like Noah Gragson a lot. Obviously, I have a lot of respect for Jimmy Johnson. Don't believe it's the driver's fault about what's going on. But Noah had said something while he was doing a post-race thing, and this was even before Sonoma, right? This was when we were in St. Louis. And he's like, I'm just looking forward to the offseason. And that struck me as we're not even halfway home yet, man. We're not even halfway home, and you got a guy who is one of two rookies, you know, like, so the spotlight's on him a little bit, and obviously Ty's having a better season than him. But how do you think that makes the owner feel? How do you think it makes the team feel to have a guy who's one of the linchpins? And we had talked about him as also being one of the great spokesmen for NASCAR this year, particularly for the Wendy's brand.
Yeah.
I know he just ran into a wall, too, so we're going to give him a little bit of a quarter here. But he had said, I'm just looking forward to this season to be over so we can regroup, obviously make the jump to Toyota. And I'm going to talk about that again in a little bit. How do you feel about that comment?
I mean, it's definitely eye-opening, but at the same time, if you asked anyone at Legacy Motor Club, I would tend to think that they would agree with what Noah's saying here. It's definitely unique hearing from the perspective of a first-year driver, a rookie guy who's only not even halfway into his first season. That is a little concerning, but again, I remain of the opinion that it's like the entire team is probably just hoping they can just push the fast-forward button to next year when they're in the Toyotas and hopefully have much more support from the manufacturer. It just seems like that's how it's going to be for Legacy, and it seems like all their guys are kind of ready to turn the page and get on to 2024. I think Jimmy Johnson's the same way. We've heard people being critical, like, why did he come back? Was it a mistake? And it's like, I don't think so. I think he's of the same opinion that Noah is, that things will be better in the years to come. And this is a building long-term process. So there's growing pains, and I think that's what we're seeing.
The reason I brought it up is that we had gotten a letter. So we're getting some DMs. If you want to reach out to us, give us some DMs. You can DM me. You can DM Spider. But I'd gotten one from a guy named Wayne Huffman. And I thought that it was kind of cool, too, because it's been such a tough season on Legacy, right? On Noah and Eric in particular, and on Jimmy to a degree. But Wayne Huffman wrote up, when you brought up that Tyler Reddick's crew filled in for Eric Jones's pit guy after Tyler had gotten hit. So Tyler blew a rotor, right? Also a brake rotor. So he was out for the day. And then one of Eric Jones's pit crew had gotten injured. So they were down a man. So all of a sudden, the Tyler Reddick pit crew that did the Eric Jones pit crew guy's job jumped over and finished the race with Eric Jones's team. I said that it was one of the good things about NASCAR. I love the fact that that happens. Very rarely do you see an offensive coordinator get taken out on the sideline and then the offensive coordinator from the other side comes over and takes his place. But this guy, Wayne Huffman, had sent in to me. When you brought up that Tyler Reddick's crew filled in for Eric Jones's pit crew guy that got hit, I realized something. Reddick is obviously Toyota, and Legacy is going to Toyota next year. I wonder if it was like a tip of the cap from the Toyota boys and like a fuck you to the Chevy guys, or am I just thinking too deep into it? That's what Wayne sent in. I think that's probably, he's onto something. Don't you think? Like, don't you think there is a little bit of camaraderie? Like, oh yeah, you're coming over to our side, we'll help you out.
Yeah,
maybe there is a little bit more collusion than we think.
It's almost, to me, the question is there like an alliance forming here that we're unaware of between 2311 and soon-to-be Toyota-driven Legacy Motor Club? You know, right now, like I said, I feel like they're in a spot where Legacy's not getting as much support from the manufacturer. But when they make the jump to Toyota, it seems like they already have guys like this pit crew dude down to help them with whatever it takes. And I think that might be a testament to the kind of resources and help they have behind them in the years to come, especially next year.
I'm just trying to figure out, because it seems like the driver himself is out for himself, is out for his car. But then there's also the team that he's with. Right? And then there's also the manufacturer that they're with. So there's always like a certain amount of, I don't know, like a team atmosphere in different levels for every driver. Does Denny, pay attention to one thing and then also 2311, then also, you know what I mean? It just seems like there's so many, I don't know, alliances from all these different places for it. So I think it's kind of cool. And if it was a Toyota base thing where they went in and threw in help for people who were about to join the team, I think that's equally as impressive.
Yeah.
Chase Briscoe, one of our favorite people in the world, you'll agree, and the number 14 team stole Riley Herbst's crew chief, Richard Boswell. So Riley Herbst is also a friend of the show, a friend of yours in particular. But Chase and Boswell had run 8 races together in Xfinity. They need to do something. I'm hoping this is what they need to do, right?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes a shake-up with the crew chief is all it takes. We saw Riley Herbst this year running pretty good. He had a pretty great start to his year, and then he's kind of regressed since then. So I think this is perfect timing, and, making that move between Riley getting a new Xfinity chief and then Briscoe, obviously, on the Cup Series, it could help just SHR, I don't know, or it's hitting the restart button a little bit in a way. So I think it could be nice mid-season kind of turning the page and hopefully get them back on track.
Yeah, and it's a good time to do it, right? Because they just got hit with that gigantic punishment from NASCAR.
Right.
So they almost have the opportunity to hit the reset button. It's a tough way to get that opportunity, but it is what it is. And then we'll stay with Stewart Haas. Today we're taping. It's Wednesday. It's around 2:30 in the afternoon. Around 1 o'clock today, there was an announcement that Josh Berry is officially taking over next season for the retiring Kevin Harvick in the 4-car. I think it's one of those things where it's a little bit coincidental, but Berry just recently signed a management deal with KHI Management, which is, Kevin Harvick Management, which is kind of cool. So 32-year-old Josh Berry ran 8 Cup races this year, subbing for either Chase or for Alex Bowman. He had 3 top 10s. He was a P2 at Richmond. So the guy's had a very, very good season filling in for some of the big boys. And now he's getting his shot to step up to the into the Cup Series. So we have him. One of the things that we did is, again, the announcement is about an hour and a half old, and we have Josh Berry. So unlike other episodes of Rubbin is Racing, we're going to go 3 wide with Josh Berry right now. All right, so like I said, we're going 3 wide with Josh Berry. Big announcement today that he's stepping into some pretty big shoes and a very good car. He's going to be driving the number 4 car for Stewart Haas going forward. Josh, thank you very much for taking the time to come on the show. I know you're having a very busy day today. Congratulations. How do you feel right now?
Yeah, I appreciate that. And yeah, it's been a really exciting day. This has been a really cool. The announcement itself was really cool to be a part of, and have Tony and Kevin and Zippy, Rodney, everybody be here, part of it. Really means a lot. So it's definitely a special day to be here and finally get this out announced in public and I really couldn't imagine a better situation for myself going forward to be at Stewart Haas Racing and to take over the 4-car. So we're incredibly excited for that. But ultimately, myself and this group has a lot of racing left to do this year as well. So we got to stay focused on that as well.
So obviously an exciting day for Josh Berry fans and yourself, but obviously Rome was not built overnight. This took you, time to get there. Talk about the connections you have with Tony Stewart, Kevin Harvick, Dale Jr. How important is it to have people like that endorse you leading up to an event like today?
Yeah, I mean, it's pivotal in this decision-making process that they had, right? I mean, Dale and I have been working together and racing together for, a long time. And he's been one of my biggest advocates over the years, no matter at what level that I was racing at. So, this is a tremendous day, an important day for myself and him, and the effort that he's put into me and the support that he's given me over the years. But to have Kevin and Tony, support me, maybe, I didn't know as much as of support that they had for me till today, but to be a part of this has just been truly awesome. And the conversations with Stewart Haas, they began before the season started, and then getting opportunities in the Cup cars this year. It's just kind of a crazy timing of it all. So it's just been a whirlwind for sure.
So I know you said that you had a lot of people to thank, and you threw out some big names there. But how about thanking that tree that Chase Elliott hit? right? Like, isn't that one of the things that kind of helped you out a little bit? And so on top of that, right, thank God that Chase takes chances, that he's an extreme sports guy. I also was wondering, too, when you're sitting in a car for a guy like Chase or a guy like Alec Bowman, and you're doing well, right? Like, you had a very good season. You had a very good season stepping into these cars. Extraordinary, to be quite honest with you. Do those guys that you're sitting in there for make sure they know, listen, you son of a bitch, you better not get comfortable in my fucking car. Like, you know, like when you're P2 at Richmond and stuff. How's that dynamic between you and these guys that you're doing a hell of a job for every time you sit in?
Well, I mean, that was just such a, incredibly unique situation. I think that you look at, the timing of it all. First off, like I said, I'm, these conversations with Stewart Haas Racing, and the majority of the meetings that I had throughout that process were actually before Chase's injury, and then getting cast into that, into that situation, spotlight, while trying to manage a full-time Xfinity effort, manage that Cup effort, and manage negotiations and my future as, potentially being the driver of the 4-car. There was a lot going on there. And the reality of that situation is that, nobody really knew but me and those close around me that, like I said, that was a full-blown audition in real time with a top team under extreme circumstances, unusual circumstances. People just thought, I feel like people looking at from afar think, oh yeah, well, these guys called up after I got out, and that was not actually the case. So going through the day-to-day throughout that opportunity, I knew how important of a moment it was for me in my career to capitalize on those opportunities and have solid runs and represent myself well on the track and off the track.
So there's no truth to the rumor that you loosened Chase's binding before he had gone snowboarding that day. There's no truth to that at all.
No truth to that. No truth to that. I was in Las Vegas preparing for Xfinity Series practice, and they come and got me, and they said, "Hey, buddy, we got something going on here."
Sure,
and
you were.
I've changed very quickly.
Excellent.
So, Josh, you mentioned that SHR was pursuing you for, up until as far as before the season started. Was there ever any serious discussion with you getting a full-time Cup ride in a Chevy? It seemed like Hendrick Motorsports invested a lot in you with the opportunities that you just spoke on and that kind of thing. Did you ever think that, hey, maybe I might end up in a Chevy, or did you know that it was always going to be Stewart Haas?
Well, Stewart Haas was the main opportunity that we had in front of us, and was the most seriously pursued and considered. But the reality of it was no. This was the opportunity I wanted. This was the right fit. They believed in me and brought me in. And the reality of it is, there wasn't a lot of opportunities there. A lot of those guys were signed up for a long time, and this was the top opportunity for this off season, or this year going into this off season, and it's exciting to be headed for that opportunity.
Absolutely.
Let me ask you something. Particularly this season, when you see a rookie in the Cup Series like a Ty Gibbs, who I wouldn't sell alcohol to, right? I mean, the guy looks like he's 13 years old. You're coming in as a more seasoned 32-year-old guy. Do you go there and tell people, I don't know what shit you pulled before I got here, but I'm not carrying the bags from the flight or doing any of that rookie hazing stuff? How does it feel to be a 32-year-old rookie in the Cup Series?
It's going to be an experience for sure, but ultimately the age part of it, I think sometimes in motorsports gets maybe a little bit overmade, and my new boss for 2024, Tony Stewart, made that pretty apparent today what his thoughts were, and age was never a concern in this for me or anybody at SHR. I think looking at me, I'm more prepared now than ever for this opportunity. So looking at going forward, I feel prepared. I feel ready. I'm not concerned about my age. If I can race Cup cars for 8 to 10 more years, then that'll be amazing, and that's still would be a great career.
Love the job that Stewart Haas is doing with the whole Forever Kevin Harvick retirement tour, if you will. But I also love today's rebrand to the Forward. So moving forward with SHR, what can we expect? Are you going to retain the same crew chief, Rodney Childers? And what can we expect sponsorship? Do you know of any sponsors or schemes we might be able to see on your car coming forward?
Yeah, well, first off, Rodney and that group, intends to stay together, after Kevin's retirement at the end of the year, which is a huge asset to me and relief going into this, knowing that I have one of the top crew chiefs in the garage from the start, and they're going to be a well-oiled and prepared team, and have been for years to come. So to continue on that path and legacy that they've been on, I know that expectations are going to be high, but I'm confident that if we just do the right things and we work hard, work together, believe in each other, I think the results will come. And on the sponsorship side of things right now, that's something we're still working on and figuring out. But and I think we'll have some news soon on that front.
Awesome.
And then how important has Kevin Harvick been to you personally? So you signed up with KHI Management, right? So, I mean, the guy is still going to be an active part of your life. Everyone's looking forward to seeing him go into the booth, myself included, right? It's not like Kevin's just going to go away and start going fishing. Will he have like any kind of active, I don't know, role in your career going forward at, being with KHI and whatnot?
Yeah, Kevin's been a really strong advocate of me over the years, and I think maybe learning more and more throughout this process, I didn't necessarily realize how much of a strong advocate he was for me. And I know through some of my conversations and the relationship I had with Rodney, I knew that he was definitely somebody that thought a lot of me, but never really knew that. Until this year, that he's thought strongly enough of me to really consider a name in the hat and help advocate me for this 4-car for next year. So he's going to be definitely somebody that I lean on throughout this process. Along with Tony Stewart and Dale Jr. as well, that are going to be on my side to help me prepare for this transition into full-time Cup race, and I'm looking forward to that. And the management side, Kevin, of course, is going to be involved as well as I transition and work on my brand and building myself and getting ready for this Cup effort.
Kevin Harvick notoriously mentioned the crappy-ass parts that NASCAR uses. Are you worried about the manufacturer change at all, or are you confident that because of the crappy-ass parts being consistent across all three, that it will be kind of more of the same and you have bigger fish to fry in terms of concerns?
Yeah, I mean, I think from my side of things, I'm confident in the changes that NASCAR are making to the cars. Obviously, they're making them more reliable and safer. They've been actively and upfront with that direction that they've been heading. And, on our manufacturer side, I'm confident that, it's going to be an easy transition and that, all these things work in cycles. And I know that, we'll have great cars once we get to 2024. And I think it's kind of been oversought, the performance that Kevin Harvick has had this year in the 4 team. I think they've been really solid. They could have easily won Phoenix. And had a crack at a couple other races along the way. So I think that they're knocking on the door and top 5 in points. So I think from my side of things, I know that they're going to continue to work and grow and get better, and it should leave me in a great opportunity for next year.
All right, so I'm going to wrap up because I know you have a lot of people to talk to. But again, we wanted to say congratulations to you. I think this is one of those things that looks like a perfect fit from the outside looking in. So we wish you nothing but the best success. And just so you know, rookies have to do this show whenever we ask them. So expect phone calls from us in the 2024 season. You can't say no. All right.
There you go. Thank you, man.
Congratulations, Josh.
Thank you.
All right. So Spider, as we thought, great guy, Josh Berry. And I think he's in a great position. So, I mean, we wish him all the luck in the world, and we appreciate him taking some time out to talk to us. All right, so we had mentioned that we're just about halfway through this season, right? We have 10 more regular season races and then 10 playoff races. So we got 16 in the bank plus the other 2, L.A. and North Wilkesboro. So 16 down, 10 left, and we have 10 winners, individual winners this season. I'm going to ask you your over-under. Sonoma is so far in the background. I'm going to ask you your over-under of the season so far. What's been your biggest over? What's the pleasant surprise for Spider in 2023 so far?
So I thought that, I shared that I had a future on Kyle Larson preseason. And he's kind of, I'm happy with where he's at. Don't get me wrong. But the one driver on his team that surprised me is William Byron. Don't get me wrong. I know William Byron's a great driver, and maybe I'm an idiot for being surprised with his success this year. But if you told me preseason that he was going to lead with race wins at this point in the season, I'm not sure I would have believed you, especially given Chase Elliott and Kyle Larson's on his own team. So William Byron, I'm very impressed with his season thus far. And another guy, I have to show some love for my guy Kyle Busch. I know you're probably going to pick him as well, Large, but this is a guy that's really struggled, or I don't know if it was even his fault or what the team was giving him. But regardless, he didn't really have as much success as we're familiar with Kyle Busch having in the last couple of years. And then you see him come this year and turn it around, and he's winning races very early on for RCR. He's doing it at all different kind of tracks, and he's seemingly a threat any given week. So those two guys really, while they're both great drivers, and we all knew that, they have over-delivered, in my opinion. That being said, on to the under-deliver, and I have a feeling I know who you're going to pick, so I'll try not to pick your pick, which
please.
I think you would probably say Legacy, but I hear your Legacy, and I'm going to raise you Trackhouse. This is a team that I thought was going to have crazy success. You saw what they did last year. Both drivers got wins. Ross Chastain had a breakout year. All eyes were on him. And now this year it's just been fucking crickets. So it's like, don't get me wrong. I'm a Trackhouse fan. I like seeing Ross kind of stir the pot and be in the news. But at the same time, I need more from them. Daniel Suarez, when he was in our office in New York, he told me that he wanted 5 wins of his own this season. Daniel, come on, we got to get one done if that's the case. I know we just came off Sonoma, a track where he won last season. How many more opportunities are going to come and go for Trackhouse? I know Ross is still in a pretty good points position, but at the end of the day, you got to win in this league. So I would probably pick Trackhouse.
The only thing I would add is probably Fords.
Yeah.
I think, as we're trying to look at manufacturers and obviously, with the changing of the cars every year and all the tweaks that people make, some people do better tweaks than others. Toyota seems to be pretty close to getting it right. And obviously Chevy, particularly the Hendrick Chevys, have been rocket ships. But Ford's, with only 2 wins, Logano and Blaney's win, in 16 races, that's somewhat disappointing to me. But otherwise, I got no problems with it. I will tell you, though, and you correct me if I'm wrong, there's no one who seems more dominant than anybody else at times. Like, remember when Joey won the race and he came on the show and I said, when's the next race you're going to win? And he's like, I should win every race. And I was like, shit, yeah, Joey Logano's back.
Yeah. Every
time we talk to Kyle Busch and he gets kind of into it, I'm like, shit, yeah, Kyle Busch is going to run the table. Kyle Larson, yeah, he's going to – it seems like these guys are either running in the front of the pack or they're barely finishing. Yeah. And, like Denny starts to get some momentum, and Denny had a nice race at Sonoma and obviously came apart at the end. So I really do feel like that top – and we've had this discussion a couple of times about who the top 4 are, and I really feel that there's a lot of parity up there in that top – not 4, but that top maybe 4, 5, or 6 racers.
Yeah. That's the beauty of our sport, though. I think the next gen car, or whatever you want to call it nowadays, has put a product on the track that is competitive. There's so much parity. We got 10 different winners. Anyone can pretty much win. I'm a fan.
Yeah, I think one of the things too is in a season where basically Chase Elliott hasn't been a factor. We have Kyle Larson is the only guy who seems to be at the top of the sports books every week, right? But otherwise, I like the way that they're shuffling around between other drivers. All right, so then outside of the over-under for the whole season, we'll mention Sonoma real quickly because we have to give our props to our guy, Martin, right? So Truex pulls in another win and in dominating fashion again. Well, Martin Truex Jr., I don't find that his wins are overly exciting. Like, it wasn't that exciting of a race. There was only 2 cautions. We had a lot of, flow because of no stage breaks. But just a great job with him. And then we had, like Chase Elliott was one of the only other ones that was outstanding to me. P5 on his first road course of the season. So it looks like he's getting back. But one of the things I wanted to mention now that Sonoma's behind us is that we're now going to switch networks. And this is the first time I've had a horse in this race because I've been watching it religiously this season. I was starting to fall in love with Mike Joy. I haven't made that any kind of secret. I like Mike Joy. I like Clint Boyer. Some of the problems that I've had with the Fox broadcasts have been centered more around like the commercials. You have said how sometimes there's some continuity lost between the booth and the guys who are speaking sometimes. But otherwise, I've had a really good experience, I thought, with Fox for the first half of the year. How do you feel about us going to NBC, Spider? Do you know anything about these guys? I'm skeptical.
I'm excited for Dale Jr. That being said, I love Clinton and Mike Joy. I feel like NASCAR fans, and I know they're critical of everything, were critical more so than justified on both Mike Joy and Clint Boyer this year. So, I enjoyed their coverage. I thought they did a pretty good job, all things considered. There was definitely a few hiccups, like Worldwide Technology, the race outage, but I don't think that was their fault. That was the track's fault. In terms of the broadcast, my only complaint would be just sometimes the commercials are not at a ideal time, or they run them, right at the peak drama, or you come back from commercial and there's caution and they go to a replay. So other than that, I think we're pretty good. We're pretty happy. That being said, I love the fact that the TV deal is almost expiring. Regardless of how good you might think the coverage currently exists, having some competition and seeing people kind of posture for getting that next TV deal is good for the sport, I think. So,
yeah, we've had a couple of other suitors bandied about. So for people who are watching NASCAR for the first time, and you're watching it because of that, first of all, because of us, we'd like to say you're welcome. And secondly, there's 10 regular season races left, 10 playoff races left. So how the first part of the year you had at Fox or FS1, this is going to be whacked up between NBC and the USA Network, I believe. Yeah, so 4 of the regular season races will be on NBC, and 6 of the playoff races will be on NBC. The rest will be broadcast on the USA Network. That's the only thing that you're going to have to know going forward. Let's go with Twisted History. Do you mind if we go right into Twisted History?
Let's do it.
So Eric Almirola won the Xfinity race in Sonoma this weekend, or excuse me, the past weekend in Sonoma, right? Kyle Larson had made a mistake. Eric had a very smart race. He capitalized on a Larson mistake, and he won the Xfinity race out in Sonoma. Congratulations to Eric Almirola. So when that had happened, I tweeted something out as a congratulatory thing, and a guy named Josh Demme had sent something into me. Hey, Large, I thought you might like this bit of history about Eric Almirola's first credited Xfinity win back in 2007, thanks to Denny Hamlin. Also, this was back when Cup drivers could race for points in both Cup and Xfinity, which was then the Busch Series. I looked it up, and I think that it is kind of cool. I don't know. Do you know about this, Spider? I'm trying to always teach you something different. So, 2007. I'm going to take you back to 2007. The Milwaukee Mile in Wisconsin. Almirola was in his early 20s. Okay? Almirola qualified the car on the pole for Joe Gibbs Racing's number 20 car. But Joe Gibbs intended to have Nextel Cup Series regular Denny Hamlin in the actual race. So, Almirola drove the qualifying part, was on the pole, and then Denny was going to come in and actually drive the car for the race. And it's something that happened back then. It happened quite a bit. As a matter of fact, in Milwaukee the previous year, Almirola had done something similar. Also was on the pole, then Denny came in and ran the actual race. It was Denny's second Cup season, but he was a superstar. He had already won 2 races. He was about to win a third in New Hampshire the following week. So he was a superstar, and Joe Gibbs thought that it'd be good for him to come in and drive in Milwaukee. So Eric qualified, and Denny's gonna chop her in essentially to run the race. But the chopper couldn't find a parking space. The helipad in the Milwaukee Mile wound up being used as a parking lot. So now Denny had to park the chopper somewhere further away. He didn't make it for the beginning of the race. So Almirola was forced to start and ran the first 59 laps before he was pulled out of the car under caution and all that. And at that point, when he was pulled, he was P2 behind Carl Edwards, who we all know is the most handsome guy that's ever existed in NASCAR history. So you're following me. Almirola wins the pole, starts the race, goes 59 laps. They go under caution. He's P2 at the time. Denny finally gets to the track. They yank Almirola, and they put Denny in the car, right?
I would be so pissed.
I would think that you would, right? So then Hamlin then finished the race with a come-from-behind win after losing a lap to the leaders during the driver change. So Hamlin did go and win that race. But NASCAR rules say the driver who starts the race gets credit for the result, making Almirola the official race winner. But that driver change had frustrated Eric so much that he left. He left the track before the race even ended. So Denny was in victory lane for Eric's win, which is credited as the first Busch Series win of his career. So if you look at Eric Almirola's career and his first Busch Series win, it was actually won by Denny Hamlin. That's fucked up, isn't it?
That is crazy. I mean,
yeah.
I would do everything I can to stay in the car. I know it's really not his choice, but it's like a pitcher getting taken out of the game, like telling their coach, I want to stay in, keep me out here.
Right.
I can't imagine working my way up to second after winning the pole, and then it's like, oh, hey, we got a better driver coming in, but also his flight's late, so like whenever he gets here, be prepared to pit, and we're going to sub you guys out. Like, I would be so upset. I don't knock him for leaving. My question is, does the check go into the original driver's bank account or Denny's?
I checked. It was only $66,000 that was won, I believe.
Listen.
And it wound up going to Almirola. So, so Denny didn't get anything except you see him. If you look at the Milwaukee Mile in whatever year that was, 2007, I believe I said?
Yeah.
2007. It was it's Denny sitting there holding up the cup. So anyway, just a little bit of history, so now you all know. Let's move on. So we're going to go to Nashville. We're heading to Nashville this weekend, Spider and I, and a gigantic posse. So this Nashville preview is brought to you by NASCAR. They have a full schedule of races this week. Truck Series, which is the Rackley Roofing 200, is going to be Friday night. The Xfinity's Tennessee Lottery 250, which our guy Josh Berry is going to be riding in, is going to be Saturday afternoon. And then the Ally 400 is Sunday with a late start, 7 p.m. Eastern time. So the Cup Series has only been to Nashville twice. Larson won in 21, and then Chase won last year. Last year was a little bit of a messy race, right? We had a couple of different lightning delays and whatnot, but Chase had won. They're racing on a 1.3-mile concrete oval, and similar to last year, they're starting during the day, they're ending at night. With that 6 o'clock tip Central Time, we're going to start when the sun is up and finish when the sun is down. NASCAR put together a hell of a weekend for people who are going. Parker McCollum is the pre-race concert. We'll be there for that. Barstool's Bussin' with the Boys. Our guys will be the honorary race officials for the race. And finally, the new Barstool Bar is opening up in Nashville and will be open to race fans all weekend. Spider and I will be there we'll be there Friday night. We'll be there Saturday night. Spider and I, Liam will be there. The Bussin' guys will be there. Alex will be there. Tommy Sabelli, who's coming to the races with us, will be there. Who else?
Hannah
Steve
Cook,
Che.
Steve
We got
Che.
Che in the building.
Che in the house. Hannah Cook. Megan Making Money, I thought I saw on the flyer, too, who I absolutely
the Chicago
love.
guys might be there at some point.
Oh, shit. White Sox Dave might grab the chopper and land where Denny couldn't at some point.
That's
so
right.
It's going to be a big time this weekend. So on top of NASCAR, putting together another great race in Nashville, Barstool is putting together a great time in the town of Nashville with the Barstool Bar, which is opening up. It's kind of by that bridge that you walk over if you want to go see the Titans play. So it's right off of Broadway, it's going to be a big time. And we're going to be in there.
232 2nd Avenue.
123 2nd Avenue. We'll be there drinking like we lost a loved one. So you can come hang out with us 7 to 9 on Friday, 6 to 9 on Saturday. And again, on Sunday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time on NBC, it's going to be the Ally 400. Guitars and fast cars under the lights in Music City. On top of all this shit, we still got to go to Chicago next week. So it's a big 2 weeks for NASCAR.
It is.
Big 2 weeks for NASCAR. With that, let's go picking the tires, brought to you by the Barstool Sportsbook. We're very close to having this bracket happening. Denny's bracket that he ran, he had like 46,000 people. It had ended last week. William Byron was the winner. Came down to William Byron and Brad Kay. I think Denny had said that he had only one winner, which is amazing. So we're going to do something similar. We're working out all the kinks. We had a very good meeting with the Barstool Sportsbook last week. These guys are on board, so it's going to happen sometime in August. So be aware of that. But let's go to this week's picks. Do you want to go first or me, Spider?
I'll go first.
Okay.
If you guys have been listening, you know how I like to handicap, and that's pretty much based off who did what last year. Last year it was my guy who won this race, Chase Elliott. He's currently 8-1. I like him as my outright. He's still in desperation mode. He needs a win. and I'm probably going to be considering him until he gets said win. So Chase Elliott, great opportunity, a track he's done it on before. I really like him this weekend, and again, he's 8-1 on the Barstool Sportsbook. We got Ryan. I'm not taking him, but I just want to mention Ryan Blaney looked really good here last year as well. Probably worth a little sprinkle. He's 10-1. That being said, top fives. I was going to add Tyler Reddick plus 210, top five. The 45 car was wheeled here by Kurt Busch last year, and he finished second, I believe. Second. So I think 2311's had speed. They haven't really, Bubba and Tyler, they haven't really, they got to win, but they haven't been winning. But their car is always near the front, and I think top five is certainly in the cards for Tyler Reddick this weekend, especially at 210. If you like Bubba, top five, he's plus 260. Either one of those guys, I really like how 2311 has been running recently. But those are my plays. So I got Tyler Reddick, top five, plus 210. Chase Elliott, plus 800. And those are my two picks. I'm going to continue to be a little conservative with my picks until we can get some of these units back. So let's go, Chase. Let's get that 9-car in victory lane this week.
I will tell you, you're going to see Chase Elliott on our cards a little bit more often, I think, going into the end of the year. I had found this. So Chase right now is sitting on a 7-year streak of playoff appearances. That streak's in jeopardy, right? 7-year streak of playoff appearances. He's not an older guy. He's got a 7-year streak of round 12 appearances. He has a 6-year streak of round 8 appearances. He has a 3-year streak of championship 4 appearances. This can all come to an end this season. But the good thing about it is that 3 of the tracks remaining on the regular season schedule are tracks where he won last year, Spider. So I know you like to look at last year. 3 of the ones that we have in the next 10, he's won at. And the 3 of the others are either road or street courses. And we know that Chase Elliott is one of the best road course drivers out there. So Chase Elliott, things are looking up for him on paper. So I kind of like the fact that you put him on your card this weekend. I don't have him. I don't have him on my card. I like Denny and Martin this week. I do. But I'm not allowed to bet Martin Truex. So to get both of them, I'm going to take Toyota. I got Toyota at plus 200 to win. And that kind of fits in with your Tyler Reddick pick to a certain degree. Like Chevy is minus 110 and Ford is plus 350. I'm taking it right in the middle, plus 200. I'm grabbing Toyota. I took Ty Gibbs as a top 10. You like that or no?
I do like that. He's been running pretty well. So, I'm a Ty Gibbs fan. I remain one, and I think that's not out of the picture at all. I think in terms of the Fords, that Ryan Blaney is the only one that I really see in front of me that I would be, down to throw some money at. So that's probably why the Fords are kind of longer odds. A lot of people are maybe of that opinion, but the Toyotas, if I were going to take a Toyota, it probably wouldn't be the Gibbs guys. I would probably take Tyler Reddick 16-1. That's pretty juicy.
Right. So I'll go 2-1 on a Toyota and take them all. Just get every one of the fucking drivers, right?
Yeah.
That's
the least manufactured car in the field, though. I think there's I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. The least amount of drivers. You're absolutely right. I think even though I'm staying away from Truex, I do like Denny, and I like Denny at plus 800. So I'm going to take Toyota at plus 200. I'm going to take Ty Gibbs at only plus 145 to be top 10. That's a lot of respect for a rookie driver.
That is.
But I still like him at plus 145. And I'm going to take Denny at plus 800. Here's another one that I'm going to throw out, my fourth one. I'm the opposite of you. I saw Ricky Stenhouse Jr.'s paint scheme, and he's got the Ballpark Frank car going. So he's running the Ballpark Frank scheme this weekend, and it makes me want to take him as a top 10 at plus 225 too. So I'm going to throw a couple of shekels on Ricky. Ricky top 10, Ty Gibbs top 10, Denny to win, and Toyota to win. That's our picks. Alrighty, we're gonna be down in Nashville again. So anybody who wants to come by the Barstool Bar, we'll be there Friday 7 to 9, probably later. We'll be there Saturday 6 to 9, probably later. We'll be at the racetrack all day Sunday, and we'll probably be back at the bar Sunday night. But that's going to be TBD. Thanks everybody for listening, and we'll see you next week on Rubbin is Racing.